Once you overcome the 1 inch tall barrier of subtitles, you will be introduced to so many more amazing films. Parasite director Bong Joon-ho famously told the audience at the Golden Globes acceptance speech. Hello everyone, welcome to Film Kopat. Cinema is a collaborative art form. The director's vision translates into the script with engagement from multiple other individuals who support a film with camera, script, lighting, set design, performances, and in so many other ways. Among all these, there's one collaborative engagement which always sits under our nose but doesn't always get its due recognition. That is the art of subtitling, something so important for cinema so that the barriers of language and geographies can be broken and cinema gets a universal accessibility across the globe. We have someone today with us who has been breaking this barrier for a long time now, bringing the magic of Malayalam cinema to all of us. Consider the few of the most satisfying films of last year, from Kala to Malik to Drishyam 2 to Kuruthi to Nayat to Arakkarim. There's one person that connects them all. It's Vivek Ranjit. And it's his subtitles that gave us access to these great films. Thanks, Vivek, for joining us today. It's such a pleasure to have you for this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. Yeah.
Vivek, my first question to you is that could you tell us a little bit about your journey into this subtitling? Because not a lot of people know about it, and
Okay.
a lot of people also ignore it. So we'd like to know from you that how is it? How did your journey begin? How did you develop a passion for something like this?
Okay. The thing is that I always wanted to, like, all of you have recognized Malayalam cinema. Malayalam cinema has finally broken out of Kerala and reached so many people. But I've always wanted this to happen ever since, like, I was a kid and I was studying in school or college or whatever. Did my college in Chennai, and there were a lot of Malayalam films which were being remade in Malayalam, in Tamil and Hindi and all that. So I would love to show, like, my friends and classmates and all what these films are like originally in Malayalam, how they are actually very realistic and how they're not over the top like the ones that are remade. So, but there was no access to all those films. Like there were DVDs of some of the new films which had like very bad subtitles. But still, I would give those subtitle DVDs to my friends, and they would watch it, and they love Malayalam cinema. But it didn't have that kind of a reach outside. So I always had this in the back of my mind. And then I did my screenwriting course in FTI Pune. And once after I finished that course, I was supposed to join director VK Prakash in Malayalam, assisting him. So he had a film which had just released, which was called Beautiful. It had Jayasuriya and Anup Menon in it, and it was a big hit and all that. And they were planning to send it for the national awards. And back then, subtitles were only used for either festival films or films which were sent for awards and stuff. So they had to get subtitles done. So when they didn't, they thought, okay, I can kind of write well, and I get this thing, and they asked me to try it out. Both VKP, the director, and Anup Menon, the writer. They had a kind of trust in me, and they asked me to try it out. I didn't know the technical know-how or anything, so I just got the movie and I just started writing down the dialogues one by one. Like, I didn't even mention the time code. I just wrote down the dialogues, translated it, and gave it to someone, and someone else had to do the technical job. So, but that process was very interesting, and as I'm into writing and into screenplay writing, this was also another version of writing. It's like writing English dialogues for like writing dialogues for an English remake of the film. So that was interesting, and immediately soon after, I wrote my first film. It was called Kili Boy, along with two of my friends, and that came out, and we had writing assignments soon after, but that didn't take off. Like, my second film took longer to happen, and it's finally happening this year. So in that gap, I had to do something to keep myself, like, to earn a living and to keep myself in the industry. And this was a very interesting thing because from 2011, 2012, early 2012, I started by doing Beautiful. And till around 2015, I did around 5-6 films for all these festivals and awards and stuff. It was from 2015, Basil Joseph's first film, Kunyira Mayanam, was my first film which released with subtitles in theaters. All the other films were for like screenings and screeners and stuff like that. So this film, Basil's film, Kunyira Mayanam, was the first film to come out in theaters with my subtitles. So by then I had learned how to do the technical job and use the software and do the syncing and how to get the file for the theaters to project it on the screen. And after that, it became like kind of took off, and I had to sit and market myself like crazy. I had to like make people understand the importance of subtitles. Nobody wanted subtitles. If they thought it was a waste of time, they thought it was a waste of money. So I called up each one of my friends in the industry and asked them for their support. I put up a huge Facebook post and made like half the industry share it. And there was an advantage because I was friends with most of them. So they could, and they also like Dulkar and a lot of people supported it. And they also shared and said that subtitles are important. And they also thought, okay, the market is going to widen because Premam had just come out and Premam didn't have subtitles in the first 2 weeks. So everyone was like kind of disappointed. Drishyam had come out in theaters. Everyone wanted to watch Drishyam, but nobody could watch it because I think they didn't use subtitles in deliberately because there were remakes being planned. So Drishyam also everyone wanted to watch. Bangalore Days had released with subtitles and it had a great reach. So all this was happening at the same time, and then Malayalam films were used to release like a couple of weeks after their original release in Kerala, wherever outside Kerala, in Chennai, Bombay, Delhi, and all. It will release after a week or after 2 weeks usually, and outside India it will take much longer. It will take a month or something. So once I started doing this, like they could do it like in a time-bound fashion, and they could actually release it on the same day, like all over the world. So that was another great thing. And then now the OTTs are coming. So yeah.
I mean, it is as important as anything else, I think, at this moment, because it's one thing about the audience getting access to this great cinema and, understanding the culture, the greater part of our country. The other part is the filmmakers also get inspired by each other, right? That was also not possible that much previously. And as you were talking, I just noticed this poster behind you, Oru Virakkan Veer Katha.
Yeah.
That was one film we were dying to watch for a long time. And there were no subtitles. And it finally came with subtitles in YouTube. And we have, spoken about it only a few days back. So,
nice.
I mean, altogether so important. Vivek, I just wanted to ask you this. I mean, this intrigues a lot. Say suppose you are talking, you are writing subtitles about Malayalam cinema. There are certain things maybe which is very intrinsic to the, the local culture or a particular geographical area. Now, when you put the subtitle, try to translate it for the other part of the country, or for that matter, now Malayalam cinema is all global. So it's not only Indians, for the international audience as well. So that nuances about that, the local culture, how do you approach that?
I mean, there are two ways to approach that. One, you can like make it simpler and make it very generic, and like what Netflix does is like you can take off all the context and just make it plain. Like for a dosa, you can write pancake or stuff like that. Like it's not correct at all. Like if you're watching a Spanish movie or if you're watching a European movie, you get what they mean. Their food items and their cultural references are part of the subtitles.
Absolutely.
They're not changed into something else like burger or something else. So that is part of the culture. That it is also part of being global. Like people outside India, an international audience should also understand that there are things like dosa and whatever in Kerala or South India or wherever. So that is also part of how I look at things. Like I don't want to like flatten it out and just mention random things in replacement of like whatever very cultural rooted stuff. But I try to like there are some proverbs and like jokes and like idioms which we can replace. Those I do replace, and I find the best alternative for that. But these cultural references, movie references, like if a character is saying something about Mohanlal's older movie, I would like to present that over there. I can't replace that with another English movie because that is part of our culture. So the person who's seeing that this particular movie can also read about this. Okay, if it strikes his mind, he can search about it in Google and try and watch that movie also. So that is an interesting way to build this. But if it's something else, like people are playing dumb charades or something like that, and they are mentioning random movies. So I've done that. Like there was a scene which Dulkar was performing dumb charades, and he's showing a movie called Nyan Gandharvan, which means I am the celestial being or something like that. So that's a very famous movie in Malayalam. So the people are reacting like in a different way, mocking him and stuff when he's acting it out. So I changed it to I Robot. So he's saying Nyan, I. So stuff like that. There was a film called Tandoni which he's acting out, which means like wastrel or stuff like that. So that can't be put over there. So there needs to be an actual film name for him to act it out. So I wrote it as Psycho. So similarly, you can play around with these things, but when it's actually referring to something important, I would like to keep it as it is, and I would try and explain what that is in the best way possible in that short time. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when you do that, Vivek, is like your call the final call of how the subtitles will be, or is it some other people are involved, or the director is involved, or the editor is involved? Like the value judgments you take for a subtitle.
Yeah, got that. Initially, it was just me. Like only certain filmmakers used to like read the whole subtitles or sit with me and discuss. Like very few people used to do that. Lijo Josh Palishiri had done that with Andamari Diaries. Vinith Srinivasan had done that with Jekam Nisogiraj. Some of those people have done that. Shyam Pushkaran had read that, Mayandi and all that. So now almost everyone takes their time out to sit and discuss. Like I spent a lot of time with Prithviraj recently for Bro Daddy. I was just talking to Vinith Srinivasan for Hridayam. We were just doing another subtitling for promo work and stuff. So everyone's actually involved. They know how important it is now because it is being discussed now. Mahesh Naran, everyone knows. They take their time out to sit and discuss. So this thing, if I've done something like this, which is culturally rooted and stuff, I'll ask the opinion of the director. Do you want it like this or do you want it the other way?
One thing that has intrigued us, and we think about it often, that comedy might be that genre in cinema which is like very difficult to travel from one place to the other because of certain cultural connotations, of course, because it depends on a lot of language and translations. So how do you approach a comedy movie if you have to create a subtitle for a comedy movie? What is the approach for that?
So how many comedy movies have you seen recently from Malayalam?
I mean, Bro Daddy is something we are really, anticipating a comedy.
But other than that, the whole trend.
Yes, you are right. Malayalam has been raised.
The whole trend. We were an industry which was like producing the best comedy movies. All those Priyadarshan movies, I'm sure you have seen the remakes of. Yeah, so all those movies we were producing, but after this whole trend of traveling across borders started, again thanks to subtitles, the comedy part, I don't know. Again, I don't know. I'm just assuming this. There are people who are not just people who are more into making dark and realistic and very political movies and stuff like that. So people forgot comedy, what comedy was all about, and everyone's dying to watch comedy right now. So I'm also waiting to do comedy films. Like I've done a few films, and it was interesting. Of Basil's Kunyaramayanam or Goda. Goda had a scene where Tovino explains how to prepare beef curry to a Punjabi, and so that was very interesting. So stuff like that is very interesting. Bro Daddy was very interesting, and like the very contextual humor here, you can't translate that. Like that is impossible to translate.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you kind of can give that feel. But again, it's not just about the dialogues being spoken. The expressions of the actors are important. You know what is happening over there, the situation is happening. Then you watch the actors. My basic aim is just to give an assistance over there. I don't want the people to take their eyes away from the actors or what is happening on the screen. That they've spent crores and crores of money for that, and if you keep looking at the text, that doesn't make any point.
Right. No, there's a very interesting thing. I think I noticed that in your Twitter account, where in a Hridayam song you have actually put a Bob Dylan line.
Yeah.
So that kind of references actually elevates subtitles. But tell me, so is it something that you when you are like doing the subtitles for that song that came to you organically, or maybe for particular movie or going by the kind of this movie is you think you approach, okay, here I will give a bit more references to maybe international cinema or something from music or literature?
No, it came to me organically. Like the line was similar in Malayalam, like times are changing.
Yeah.
I just had to mention times are changing over there. But I had this, suddenly when I wrote times are changing, I had this thought in my mind, okay, I have heard something like this over here somewhere in an English song or something. So I just went search for that, and I got the correct line, Bob Dylan's line, and I placed it over there. And it kind of worked for that movie, because it's again a college campus and it's a rough phase in that guy's life. So it is a kind of a rock kind of a phase. So it kind of sat well over there. So it came very organically, and Vineet also didn't notice that. Vineet noticed that when the comment on YouTube came out. So he asked me, and I was like, okay, I did that myself. So he asked me if I did it unknowingly. So I was like, okay, I did it on purpose.
We talked about the comedy bit, and you explained that actually not a lot of them are getting made. But there is a lot of when you talk about local culture, there are local cuss words also, local slangs. And what do you do about that? How do you ensure that the sense is getting translated into English?
English is very poor when it comes to cuss words. We are a very rich culture. We like any culture in India for that matter. Like Malayalam has even more very colorful cuss words. So I hadn't seen Churli with subtitles, but yeah, I think that the person who had subtitled that must have gone through a tough time. But yeah, the cuss words thing happened very recently with OTT coming in. There was no censorship, but until that, again, my thing was always focused on theaters just before these 2 years. So I had to tone it down for the censors and stuff because subtitles are now being censored also. Initially till 2017 or something, they weren't being censored. And Angamari Diaries and all, I had actually used cuss words in the subtitles. But the dialogues were censored. So there would be a mute and the subtitles would say the cuss word. So that kind of people took notice of it, and then they wanted the subtitles also to be censored. So when I write the subtitles, I myself censor a lot of stuff before so that it won't be an inconvenience later. So now when it comes to OTT, I have to make 2 versions. One is a toned down version and one with cuss words. So yeah, it's again very difficult. The colorful cuss words of Malayalam, it is not. Most of it is in English is we make do with the F word. So yeah, the cuss are difficult to translate, but yeah, we managed to find workarounds of that. Yeah.
Also, I feel that there might be lines in Malayalam or any local language. It's a small line or a small word, but translating in English, it might become much bigger. It happens, right? And then you need to be in sync with the dialogue delivery as well, so that the audience does not lose the deliveries of the actors. So how do you tackle those kind of situations where phrases are not?
It's hell. like recently, after this whole trend of realistic cinema started, everyone's speaking so fast, everyone's speaking together, there's sync sound, there's so many people talking together. Earlier it used to be quite dramatic, like one person talks, there's a pause, there's another person talking, there's the conversation was built like that. Now everyone's talking together, and everything is important. So how do you do that? I don't know. I break my head the first time sitting down and getting all those dialogues into my mind itself is a huge task. And then the worst part is that when I get the movie initially, all these dialogues, the crowd, everything comes together. It's dubbed as a single track and it comes to me like that. So I don't know which dialogue is the most important one. So I'll have to wait till the final mix of the film to see which is the most important dialogue, which will be heard from the main speaker or whatever. The rest will be all heard from surround speakers and stuff like that. So I kind of, again, it's all you gain through experience, how you kind of get a judgment that this might be the most important dialogue. And this dialogue, you can split it in certain ways. Like certain dialogues, you have to change the construction of the sentence. You have to do wrong grammar because the movie is more important, not the grammar. Because if you watch English films, like Marvel films, if you watch it in theater with subtitles, I think they're doing a very bad job because they're not splitting the subtitles. Like they are revealing a villain in the next frame, and the whole subtitles come in the previous frame.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
It happens.
The whole punchline, like Spider-Man, also the whole punchline, the next funny sequence, that line where you're supposed to laugh on that frame, that whole line will come earlier. They'll finish it off easily, as a whole chunk, and that doesn't work for me. I have to split it out. Like if you're pointing out to the one guy and showing him that guy is that guy, is the villain. If that is how the rhythm of the scene is, you have to split it like that.
Hmm. When you
Like
say
I
that,
That's being just being lazy, right?
yeah, I wanted to
Yeah,
ask
full
that.
chunk.
I want to, are they being lazy, or is it a very difficult thing to do? What do you think? The studios, the Marvel studios, and other big
Eh,
studios, when they do that.
Marvel is definitely being lazy. Like it's not very difficult for them to do that. And I've noticed that with every film of theirs, like so beautifully constructed. The scenes are so beautifully constructed, and you want to experience that suspense. You want to experience that joke landing at the correct time, but this is ruined. Like all the jokes are coming earlier, so that doesn't work for me. And I try myself not to do that. So in that way, you have to like break the grammatical rules, and you have to like change the construction of the sentence. You have to break sentences, start a new sentence midway. So like that, you have to keep doing stuff according to the film, according to the narrative of the film, according to the scene. So that's a very interesting process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing, tell me, I mean, I am not sure if it's happening in India. You can tell us, but there's some interesting work going on with subtitles in international cinema with animated subtitles. Like in a murder scene, the subtitle itself is like dissolving like blood, or
Mm-hmm.
somewhere it's a echo and you have subtitles across the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Some same thing being said. Any thoughts around that is coming in our cinema? I mean, if not done, but people are at all thinking things like that.
I mean, that has to be part of the film's treatment itself. Like it cannot be
Yes.
like you're assigning that job to a subtitler. I can't do that. I can't do that with my kind of technical know-how. It has to be done during the edit and during the DI with graphics and stuff like that. Like a general professional subtitler cannot do that. Like
Right.
for one particular movie, when you're working on so many movies, this needs like dedicated time for that. You need to have a creative discussion. You need to have like structuring of that. I don't know if that might be possible for my case, but if I am hired for something like that, I would love to do that. Like I need to spend that kind of time and energy for doing that. But
Right.
otherwise,
So it will have to be a part of the filming process itself, and not after
exactly.
it is done.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
Like in
Get you.
Slumdog, the whole subtitles were very, very interesting. How the subtitles appeared at what points, like at what positions of the screen. I can't change the position of my subtitles. It has to be done wherever, where theater or OTT guys have to do that.
Right. With this OTT and all, is there an appetite for the old films also getting subtitled and coming? There's a lot of films we want to watch, but we cannot because of that subtitles not being there.
There are people who are interested in films like you guys, but unless there is a whole huge demand for those films, there are films being uploaded on Amazon every now and then, but the subtitles are very poor.
Yeah.
Like I had approached certain channels and some people saying that I can do that, but again, the cost, everything should work out. For an old film, they cannot spend so much, and I can't spend so much time for that kind of money. So it has to work out that way also. So I would love to do that, but I'm already having so many films to work on, new films to work on. So I can't find time to work on old films. But there are some very beautiful old films which everyone is supposed to watch. And last year I had put out a whole series of tweets of people like Mohanlal films available with subtitles on digital platforms, and it had a huge response. Like so many people were seeing that for the first time, and so many people from Bollywood, everyone had like suddenly discovered like a treasure trove of films. And there are so many films. Hotstar has done a decent job of subtitling a lot of these films. Most of the films owned by Asianet are with Hotstar, so that has a rich collection. But again, there are some films like Varatham Veeragada and all that. There are films which aren't available with subtitles. So yeah, maybe they would come in the future. And I'm planning to start a subtitling firm soon enough. So we'll hire more people and do stuff like this. Hopefully.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I would like to know from you that there is this talk about Tharam, your first film as a solo screenwriter, right? So tell us something about the film as much as you can and your writing process for this one.
Like I've been writing this film for the past 7-8 years now. So
Oh,
It's a label.
yeah, yeah, it was not so good initially. Then we had discussions. It became a nice project, and then it was supposed to happen earlier, but then the actor got involved in a lot of big projects, and it got delayed. And then again, we were not happy with the script, and then we kept it away. We worked on something else, and then but this always kept coming back to us. We always wanted to do this, and this was a very special part of our heart. So we went back to that again. And last year during the lockdown, again, everyone came together, and it worked and it clicked. Finally, the screenplay fell into place, and we were good to go. So we are just we are just into pre-production now. We're hoping to shoot it during summer. Yeah. So
Could you tell us something more?
I mean, like we're just too early into the film. So yeah, it's
Right.
about a film. It's about a film star. The film is about a film star's
Okay.
life. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not about films, but it's about a film star's personal life.
What do you think has gone right for Malayalam cinema over the past 5-10 years as we see more and more these kind of great movies coming out of the industry?
I mean, back to back, they keep on coming.
Yes, there's
I
the bad movie.
I mean, there are a lot of bad movies. You just said you're not watching it. Like all other industries, we make very bad movies also. Just that those movies don't travel outside Kerala, so
Okay.
you don't get to see that. But we watch all the bad Hindi movies. We know, we are quite aware. But yeah, Malayalam industry always used to make good films. Just that now they've started traveling. Like we had a very lean phase in say around 2000 to 2010, but then also a minimum of 15 good movies used to come every year, even then. But earlier in the 90s or 80s, you used to have like 50, 60 good movies in a year. So we are kind of getting back a whole new bunch of filmmakers have come in, whole new bunch of actors have come in. We earlier, like when I was planning to get into the industry, I was doubtful whether I should get into Malayalam. Should I go to Tamil? Tamil was seemingly a better place back then. But then suddenly this influx happened, and this whole change started happening. Fahad was a very good friend, so I was in touch with him, and he came in with Chapa Kurisha, and there was traffic happening on the other side, and so many films, Salt and Pepper, everything came together in that one year, 2011, when I was studying in the institute. So that changed my mindset, and I said, okay, I'm coming back to Malayalam. And immediately the next year, I could make my movie over here. I didn't have to go through a huge struggle or anything. So yeah, that was a very interesting phase. And now so many more people have come in because of the digital revolution. Like Kerala was always a very film educated audience. Like people, even the random person sitting in a tea shop can discuss like Scorsese or anything like that. They would watch films at film festivals, film societies. They would watch foreign films, everything they'll watch. And they're very critical about every film any film, be it Priyadarshan, be it Mohanlal, Mammootty, anyone's film. They are very critical, but they are also very loving. And the only thing I miss in Malayalam film industry right now is like a big commercial entertainers. Like we used to have songs, dances, and comedy. That has gone missing. The happiness has gone missing. Like everyone's too dark, very serious.
You make a very interesting point, actually. Yes, I agree.
I'm trying to make a movie like that. Taram is a very colorful.
The poster itself shows that color. Yeah.
Vivek, I have two very important questions now. That's it. First one is how to be friends with Fahad Fasil. And second one is Mohanlal or Mammootty.
Mohanlal always, but Mammootty, I love Mammootty as well. But I've been like you haven't seen the other side of my wall. It's like full of Mohanlal and
Mohanlal, okay.
Yeah. Here's Mammootty is here, but yeah. This side is full of Mohanlal.
Got it. Okay, great.
Fahad has been a good friend ever since he came back, like from Kerala Cafe onwards. I had written a message to him and he called me, and we used to hang out together until he became really busy. But yeah, now also even now every now and then we call, speak to each other. We have spoken after I did Malayalam. So yeah. Right. He had called me and told me that a very important person is watching this movie, so we have to do the subtitle as very well. And he didn't tell me who it was. And then like later I came to know that it was Mr. A.R. Rahman watching that film.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Vivek, such a nice time we had talking to you, and we got to know about the process. I think this is very unique, where like a unique experience which we had, and I'm sure our audience will also have a very unique experience understanding the nuances of something which is so very important. And thank you so much for bearing with us, giving us so much time. It was really great talking to you. Thank you, Vivek.
Thank you so much. I had a great time talking to you guys.
Thank you, Vivek.